welcome or welcome back to my corner of the internet. Today, I wanted to do the eyeshadow palette tag that has been going around yet again. I have done this already in the past, and honestly, I haven't even looked at the answers that I did back then, but I can almost 99.9% guarantee that these answers are completely different from what I had back then. My eyeshadow collection has completely changed. My mindset on buying every single release is no longer. I just don't have the space in my room, and I also don't have the space mentally in my brain. I felt like the more I chased, the more anxiety I got. So this is why you don't see me doing new releases as often over the last few years or reviewing new things. It's just mentally I can't handle it, and I don't want to handle it. Maybe that's the reason why my channel doesn't grow, but I really don't care. This tag has 13 questions. I will link my old one down in the description box if you're interested to see what I answered. I'm actually gonna go back after I do this video to look at that one to see what my answers are. And I also want to mention that every single question I purposely chose a different palette, even though there were some questions I could have taken the easy way and chosen the same palette over and over, but I decided to do something a little bit different and choose a different palette for each one. My eyeshadow palette collection has completely changed as far as how I store it, as far as how I use it, and what it is that I really love. Over the last few years, I've really learned what I genuinely love, how I like to wear my makeup. I still love color, but I've learned truly what I like and not followed what the internet is doing. And I really have loved that very much because I've loved doing my makeup so much more, and I've appreciated color so much more in my way. So now that I've rambled on, let's get into the question. All-time favorite palette. So my all-time favorite palette should be no surprise because I chose to use it every single day in every single eye look, and that is my Anastasia Sultry palette. This palette, I'm not going to open it up because I do have it in a sort of loose project, I would call it, where I'm trying to use this palette every single time that I wear makeup. I am wearing it today. I have it as a crease shade today, but I love this palette. It genuinely has taught me, this specific palette, that there are palettes out there that I can use all year round and not be bored with them. There is a thought process. This is something that I learned recently, that if you take away what, like the what do I call it? The internet meaning or the brand meaning or the marketing meaning of a makeup product out of it, you see your makeup in a whole different way. And with this palette, I don't see it as a high-end palette. I don't see it as an Anastasia palette. I just see it as a palette that I can use every day. And me taking all those things out of the equation has allowed me to reach for this palette without getting bored of it. And I'm wanting to have that mindset for the rest of my makeup. I'm not here to close off all the brands and not think about them, but it's more of like, think about it as a thing that I'm going to use and enjoy versus a thing I want to collect because it's from this brand and it's limited edition and you can't get it again. I'm trying to get that mindset out. So that's why this one's my all-time favorite palette. It's just a palette I can reach for and know that I can trust and really get a good look out of it no matter what. A new favorite. So a new favorite is something boring as well, and I really don't care. That's the Natasha Denona Soft. I got the Soft and I got the darker version with Ulta points. So I basically got these for free, and actually I even got them on a discount because I got them for like 50 some dollars and then used my points. So I really got a good deal on these. So this one I love because I can incorporate it with this palette. If this palette, because this palette only has like really 2 transitional shades that I can use, but if I want a little bit of something else, I reach for this one. I genuinely love the fact that she did it in rows or columns. I think this is columns. I always get that mixed up. It's been a while. So rows is like pinks and peaches and neutrals and cool tones and warm tones and then the darker shades. So it takes the guesswork out of it. And if a palette that I am using doesn't have the transitional shades that I want, this is something that I reach for. And I actually love her matte, so this is why I like it. I didn't buy this palette particularly for the shimmer shades, even though this one only basically has like 2 to 3 shimmers in it. And I have yet to even reach for them. I reach for this palette more for the mattes. I can trust it. I know it's going to be a good blend. I know I don't have to think about it. And I can pop these out and take them on the go if I really want to. So I really have been enjoying this one. This has been a new favorite. And it's been more of a companion palette for other palettes that I'm either stuck with or all shimmer, or I'm looking for a colorful look and it doesn't give me what I want, and this one doesn't give me, or like I'm not really wanting to use these two transitional shades, I'll pull out for this one. So I really have been enjoying this one more than I expected to. More than I expected to. All right, a palette you keep for memories. In all honesty, I do not keep palettes for memories. If I'm gonna keep a palette, it's more to use and to enjoy. If not, I've learned to get rid of them. I love to collect things, but it's more of like either memories of trips with my kids or things that artwork that my kids have done, photos, that kind of stuff. I really don't keep makeup. In all honesty, I didn't keep my palette that I used for my wedding. I didn't keep the palettes that I used for certain occasions that bring me back memories. I have those photos, and that's more precious to me than the actual palette itself. So I don't have any palettes that I keep for memories. I really don't. Underrated palette. I will say that I feel like this is really underrated, and I feel like I'm one of the few people that rave about this, and I don't know why, because it's such good quality. So the one that I would say, it's the MAC Unfiltered Nudes. This palette it's another palette where I can go all year round. I really love this palette. It gives me everything, and I will say that I feel like the reason why I like this one is because it's the updated version of the Sultry palette. That's why I feel like it doesn't have that peachy color that I can care less, but it has the silvers and the dark brown and the transitional shades in warm and in cool. So I think this is why I love this one so much. It's just the updated version of the Sultry palette. So when I'm done with the Sultry palette, I think I have everything that I want here. Everything that I want is going to be in here. This is a beautiful palette. The formula is phenomenal. MAC formula of their eyeshadows are drier, which is a bonus and an amazing thing for my oily eyelids. These do not crease. Even my older MAC shadows that I've had for years don't crease on my eyes. But some of the newer stuff, it's way too emollient, way too creamy, way too, it's like buttery that it just creases on my eyes. So I go to the OG one. So this is a palette that I would say it's underrated. I feel like any skin tone can rock this. I feel like any undertone can rock this. And I feel like anybody can rock this all year round without it having to be one specific season or not. Very, very underrated, and I love it. Not a favorite, but you can't get rid of. And I've done a video about this, so this should be no surprise. The Natasha Denona Love Palette. I love certain shades in here. I love the formula, and that's one of the few reasons why I would not get rid of this one. I don't love it as a whole, but the reason why I keep this palette is to remind me not to buy more palettes like this. There are going to be palette releases that look very similar to this or have the same undertones, vibes, colors to it, and it reminds me to not purchase those because I have this one that I rarely use. It's a weird thought process, but it genuinely works for me. If I were to get rid of this palette, I'm gonna look at a new release that looks similar to this and be like, oh, I don't have that. And I forget the reason why I have that gap in my collection. So this is just more like a buffer for me. I like this palette for certain shades, for a 2 shadow look, for a all over the lid look, for a crease look, something of that nature. Overall, I don't like this palette. I don't like pinks. You guys know that. I'm not a fan of pinks. If I'm gonna wear pinks, it's more of like a summery kind of look, not some more of a wintry kind of look. And in looking at these 2 shades, I have yet to even touch. I've yet to even touch these. And Valentine's Day has happened and I didn't even use this palette. That's how much I just don't really grab for this one. I didn't pay full price for this one. Honestly, I paid under $30 for this palette. So for me, that was a win because of the formula. I like the fact that I can pop these out, and that's the reason why I keep it, because I would pop the ones that I like or what I'm intending to use and then go with that. So it's not a favorite, but I won't get rid of it for that reason, for quite a few reasons, but that's the reason why it's still in my collection. All right, my favorite collab palette. Whew, you guys, it took me a long time to realize that I don't need to buy a palette from a creator, content creator, or a famous individual just to support them. I love my money to be where it's at, and unfortunately life has gotten so expensive that I just can't support everyone. So I have not purchased a collab palette in a very long time. And looking through my collection, I'm taking it as a collab with a content creator, not necessarily with a famous person, a famous artist, somebody we're all well known. Like, I'm taking this as somebody who's like me behind the camera that kind of isn't famous in a way. So I only have two palettes. In all honesty, they're both my favorite, so I really couldn't choose. And that's the Dose of Colors Francation and the Tiny Marvels with Mel Thompson. These are the only two left in my collection. I do not have any other collabs palettes in my collection. I've gotten rid of all of them, and I haven't purchased any new ones. Just because they are a content creator doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to enjoy and love what they have, and I don't need to buy them to support them. So these are the only two, and these are rather older in my collection, and they still stand the test of time. This one I love and adore, still use, still great formula. It was really good. Like, I am so happy that I bought this because it's such a good palette. And honestly, I wasn't even a fan of like Katie, and I don't remember the other girl's name. I never bought it for them. I bought it for the formula, the brand, and the color story. And it still stood the test of time. Same thing with Tiny Marvels. At the time that I purchased this one was when it released. So I didn't buy this when Mel Thompson passed. I had already purchased it, and it wasn't again because of Mel Thompson. It was because of the color story. And I love Sydney Grace's formula. I've loved Sydney Grace for a very long time. I own quite a few of their eyeshadows. You guys know I'm such a fan of their palettes. I have quite a few Z palettes full of their single shadows. Cream shadows are my favorite. I really love everything that they have. I wish some of the things like the cream products would last a little longer, like their blushes and highlighters and bronzers, because I love those too. The formula, the way that they apply, but they don't last that long, so this is why I don't use them. But I've always loved them. So these are the only two collab palettes that I have, and I still love them and I still keep them. All right, my 2025 favorite palette. This should be no surprise because I did a whole ranking video and I explained to you guys why I love this palette. That's the Rem Beauty Wicked or Ozian Forest palette. This is such a beautiful palette. I'm not going to go through it because I've raved about it so many times. This is such a good palette. This month was the first time I haven't touched this palette, and the month is not over, so it may be coming out again because I even used this in January. I just love this palette. I'm not going to say too much about it because I know at this point it may not be available, but it was definitely my favorite purchase of 2025 when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. All right, a palette I didn't expect to love. This one, really did catch me off guard because I didn't expect it. One, I didn't purchase it by myself, like on my own. And two, I didn't think I would like it as much when I saw it and like when I saw the whole formula of it. That is the Danessa Myricks Groundworks. I did not expect to love it as much as I do. So this palette came to me in December, or I would say in the Beautylish box of 2023. So I unboxed it in January of 2024. That's when I received it. And I got this palette in there. That's the last time I ever got a beauty box. I haven't purchased any since then because I feel like they're just horrible now. They don't give you good quality products. I saw the unboxings of this past year, and everything that anyone got I already owned, and that was me not buying a bunch of stuff. So they're not doing that great. At least in my opinion, they're not doing that great. But anyway, this palette was in there, and I didn't think I would love it as much as I do, and you guys can clearly see how much I love this palette. Everything about it. The formula I thought was going to crease on my eyes, my oily lids. No, this is so good. I use this all summer long, and it just does not crease on my oily eyelids. Phenomenal job on this palette. And I don't care to get the pinky version. This is good for me. I just want to buy the replacements when I use them up or they dry up, and then we're good. It still hasn't dried up, you guys. This is a great palette and it still smells good. So this is one I didn't expect to love. Palette that sparks joy, you guys. I know there's controversy with this palette as far as what's going to happen with it, what's going on, are we going to see anything, blah, blah, blah. Not to mention that this palette got a lot of criticism because formulas changed. It wasn't really said. Prices are still the same. Shadow size got smaller, so on and so forth, but it genuinely sparked joy. And I got this on sale, so for me, it was a win. That's the Pat McGrath Gilded Arena. This is the one that came out this past Christmas. You guys, I know a lot of people hated the fact that it was smaller. smaller pans, all shimmery with basically one matte in here. And that to me, I don't give a crap about. You guys, these are so beautiful. That's why I have other palettes with mattes in them, so I could just bring them in and use them. It's like, I sometimes feel like some people gripe about things that are unnecessary just to blast or say negativity about a palette, even though we all know we own more than one palette and you can do looks with this. If you really like it, you're gonna do it. I love this palette for a one and done, or even mixing the shadows. I think this is where this palette just wins me over. Last time I used this palette, I used this shade and then I topped it with this blue one. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. So beautiful. Absolutely adored it. I love mixing and matching. I grabbed this one and mixed it up with this one. Another beautiful combination. I love this to combine colors and to give me that sparkle and that pizzazz without so much color. And I think that's why I love it so much. It brings so much joy. Every time I open it up, I just get so excited to look at the sparkliness and the glowiness, because I know that it's endless, because I could just use one shadow and have that color, or mix and match and just come up with some beautiful combination. And you guys know that I love to mix and match stuff all the time. So this is one that sparks joy, and I genuinely loved it, not to mention that I didn't buy it full price. So that was also a win. My newest palette in my collection, and I'm being very transparent with this because you guys know that I'm telling you guys when I buy eyeshadow palettes, it is the Anastasia Haze. This is one that I wanted last year. I had to wait for it to get released, so I did end up purchasing it, and I do not regret it at all. I actually like this one more than the Moonlight from Mario because of the mattes and their tones. They don't pull as gray on me. They pull brown with a hint of gray, and that's what I love about this. It doesn't look full on gray. These three shimmers are beautiful, beautiful. Even this one. A lot of people are complaining that this turns red on them. It doesn't turn red on me. It actually turns purple. I put it on and I see a blue, but the blue and the red mix and it turns purple on my eyes. So for me, it was a total win. This genuinely looks purple on me, so I'm happy with that. This blue is also a beautiful one. I've used this one quite a bit this year. This has been my most used palette this year, besides my Sultry, obviously. But this has been my most used palette this year. So it's a lot to say. For a small little palette like this, it's such a win. And I don't have a lot of cool tones, so this makes me happy. So this is my newest one. All right, the first palette I used in 2026. So the very first palette I used back in January was actually the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 2. And this is what the palette, I'm trying not to blind you. You guys can see that it matches me today. The reason why I pulled this out is because I was getting tired of the cooler tones, the blues. I needed something to revive myself because we were getting a bunch of snow and I knew it was going to be cold and I just wanted something fun. So I mainly pulled it out for this shade right here. You guys can see I have a nice dent in that one. I do not have mold in this palette. I check it all the time and I genuinely don't. But this is the palette that I pulled it out, or the shade that I pulled it out for. Blown out, it looks so beautiful on the eyes. It's like this beautiful cranberry color and I genuinely loved it. I also pulled it out for these two. These, if I put too much of a layer on my eyelids, it creases. But if I put a light layer on my eyes, it doesn't crease, and they are a beautiful base to any look. So I mainly use this palette for the mattes and this shade. These four I keep for the summertime, more for the fall. They're too bright for me right now. I don't like those tones on me right now, but I do love this shade all year round. So I pulled this one out as my first palette I used this year because I needed to change it up from all the cool tones and all the stuff. I just needed a little bit of a break, and I pulled that one out. All right, if you could choose a collab, what would it be? So I am taking this as, if I can collab with a brand, what would I choose and who would I choose? Now, there's a lot of mainstream brands that I absolutely adore and I love. One that has never let me down in any way, shape, or form, even before they changed their name, is Sydney Grace. I have loved Sydney Grace even when they were Feather River Beauty. I forget I know it was Feather in the name, and then they decided to change and revamp their names to Sydney Grace. I have loved them. I have sung their praises. If you look at all of my eyeshadow videos, you will see that I rave about their cream eyeshadows. I rave about their single shadows. I have their brushes that I absolutely adore. I've gotten their mystery boxes almost every single year. I shop their Christmas in July, and I do not have any affiliate with them at all whatsoever. I love their eyeshadows. I just pulled out a bunch of their eyeshadows this past month just to see certain ones, and let me tell you, they still don't crease on my eyes. They pack such a punch on my eyes and they don't crease. And then I got these newer brands that come out and they crease on my eyeballs. Like, what the heck? They have such a great formula. I love what they stand for. I love their whole entire concept, and they are loving. They're not a type of brand that gets involved in every single detail and needs to know everything about everything. It just drives me nuts when a brand needs to be involved in everything. Just stay in your lane sometimes, and I love that about Sydney Grace. So I would say I would love to collab with Sydney Grace, do some sort of like 6-pan thing. I don't know, a cream shadow. I feel like the only thing that Sydney Grace hasn't come out with is lip liners and eyeliners. I wonder if that's something they'll come out with this year, because you know I'm a lip liner girl and I would love to try that. But Sydney Grace would be the brand that I would love to collab with. All right, last question. If you could redo one palette, what would it be and why? So this palette I keep around because of the formula. I keep around because, again, it's like that palette where I take 1 or 2 shades from, and I would completely redo this palette. But I understand why this is the one palette out of this brand that I wasn't such a fan of, because it was a collab with BoxyCharm. So that's the reason why, and that is this Viseart palette, Milu, I think it's what it was called. There's very repetitive shadows in here, and then that pink one drives me up the wall. Every time I look at this palette, that pink one just sticks out, and I don't like it. I don't like that pink. I don't want that pink in here. The blue I can kind of handle. All right, fine, I'll keep the blue, but this pink one drives me nuts. I'll pull that one out. These colors, I understand that the undertones are different, but I feel like there's a lot of that in here. There's not a lot of gradient. I feel like it's a little bit repetitive, and I wish that it could change a little bit. Like maybe keep these two, have a little bit more lighter color down here. This red and orange, switch it up. Like there's something about this palette that every time I pull it out, it's just for 1 or 2 shades, because as a whole, it's just not my favorite. And I would definitely change this one up, but I understand why this one was done the way that it was, because I may be wrong, but it's just me assuming that since they were collabing with BoxyCharm, they didn't really give it their oomph. Like the other ones that I have of this are just phenomenal. They're just phenomenal. And this one always stumps me, and I'm like, oh, it's repetitive. And I keep it because of the formula. And there are a few shades that I love, like that eggplant right here, this eggplant brown. I love this one. I love that chocolatey brown. This one, these two are different undertones, so I do like that as well, because I can't use a very stark white or a very stark beige all over my eyelid if I want just a matte shade, and these two work for that. So for me, like this palette, it didn't give me the 100% of what I was looking for. I feel like this could have changed and it would have been a lot better. All right, guys, that is it. Those are the 13 questions that I have for this. I would love for you to take one of those questions. I will leave them down in the description box and answer them down in the comment section for me. I love to hear that. This was a lot of fun, and I will say that my collection has completely changed. So this is a lot of fun to go back and look to see what it is that I now enjoy, love, and my newest, and what I would change, what I wouldn't change. And I'll link my older one down in the description box. So if you're interested to see what my answers were back then, you can go ahead and check that out. Don't judge me. I don't know what I look like. I have no clue how long ago it was. So I'm just warning you guys. I may look skinnier. I don't know. I may look younger. I definitely look younger. That's for sure. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will leave the creators down of this tag in the description box. I have no clue who they are, but I'll leave them down in the description. I'll do my research and I'll link them down in the description box. All right, guys, that is it. That's all that I have. Thank you guys so much for watching. May God bless you always. I will catch you guys in the next one.